Hi there, my name is Frosty and welcome to Frosty Eye Candy. In the next set of videos I'm going to show you step by step how I create my acrylic art and more importantly how I made this piece of art. In our first video we're going to learn about our recipes, the ratios of our recipes, consistency of our paints, pouring medium and cell activator. So please go and get yourself a drink, sit down, relax, because this won't take very long. So, pouring medium. A pouring medium is what we use to stretch out our paint so it's a little more fluid and it moves a little more easily on the canvas. I use a pouring medium is a mixture of Flood Floetrol and Minwax polyacrylic, and as I am in Canada I support Canadian. I use Cloverdale semi-gloss untinted clear base. So this is the paint from the paint store for your wall, but it just doesn't have any pigment in it at all. It's just a transparent clear base when it dries. So my mixture is 1 part of the Floetrol to 1 part of the polyacrylic to 2 parts of the semi-gloss untinted clear base to 1 part paint. So I hope you got that drink and you're nice and comfortable. I'm going to tip the camera down and I'm going to start showing you how I make the pouring medium. Thank you. Hi there and welcome back. So to mix up my pouring medium and my colours, I use these little 4-ounce pots that I get from the dollar store, and I also use a syringe to measure out the different amounts so I get it absolutely exact. So for ease I've just poured out a little of my Floetrol in this little 2-ounce cup right here. And we're going to start with 10 millilitres of the Floetrol. Again, my ratio is 1 part Floetrol to 1 part Minwax to 2 parts semi-gloss untinted clear base. So let's just get 10 ml of the Minwax. And we're going to add the 20 ml of the clear base after we add our pigment. So the pigments I'm going to be using are these. They're Jacquard, made by Jacquard. They're Pearl X. This one is Solar Gold. I got these from my local art store, again another Canadian art store, Opus. They're very good indeed. I did start with obviously the dollar store paints and things like that, but I soon realized from watching some of the more professional videos and the people that are really creating beautiful works of art and more importantly selling them, they were using pigments like this and other more higher quality brands of paint from actual art stores. So we're going to leave just the 10 ml of Floetrol and the 10 ml of Minwax in here, and we're just going to mix it up nicely. And before we add the semi-gloss clear base to this, as this is rather nice and liquidy, we're going to add our pigment to it first before we add the clear base, because the pigments are going to disperse in this much more liquidy solution, much more easy, and we're not going to get clumps or things like that. So we're going to end up with about 40 milliliters of paint, which I guess is about 3 ounces. So for 3 ounces of paint we want at least this much pigment, as we can see on the end of my little spatula. And one thing, sorry, spatula, it's a palette knife. One thing I can't help myself doing is just adding way too much pigment to things, but it just looks so pretty. So the first thing I do is just gently disperse the pigment around on the top layer of the pouring medium and just help it nicely out so there's no clumps or anything like that. And then when it's starting to look like it's almost absorbed, I just pat it down gently so we get all those little lumps out. And when they're all in the solution, I'll actually start to give it a good stir. As you can see, it happens pretty quickly. Got a beautiful Solar Gold right here. So we want to mix that up and make sure there are no little pieces of the pigment, of the mica left. And one way I do that is with these, the plastic, so I give it a little bit of pressure on my thumb here, and with the flat end of the little stir stick, I can pat out any little lumps that may be in there. So they're gone, and the solution is nice and mixed. Okay, now for the last part, we're going to add the 2 parts of the Super 2 semi-gloss untinted clear base. Okay, and now we just want to mix that in nicely. And as you can guess, when you add more liquid to something, to a paint that you're mixing and thinning down, the more you add to it, the more you're going to dilute the colour as well. So at this point, I just like to be a bit more generous than I was in the first place and add another little load of mica powder, about half as much as we did the first time. And again, just patting the pigment around on the surface of the pouring medium, making sure no large lumps are sticking together. And when they're all just about in there, give it a good stir. And again, don't forget the trick, holding your thumb flat, making a little surface that you can pat out any little lumps of pigment and mica that still might be in there. So that's how we make a pouring medium for pigment. As you can see now, this is a beautiful gold colour. It has super reflective qualities, and if you'll notice the consistency, I know people say this all the time, like warm honey, but it kind of is. You can get it on the end of your stir stick and it will flow off really nicely and easily, and will pool up on the tension of the top of the paint it's pouring into, and it will stay there for about a second or two, ideally 2 seconds, before it lays down back in the rest of the paint. Okay, so that's pouring medium for a pigment. Now let's do a pouring medium for a soft body acrylic. I like using Liquitex. Again, you can use the dollar store paints, they're absolutely fine, and I am going to use $1 store paint in this creation. But the Liquitex soft body acrylics, you can tell if they're either opaque or transparent by this tiny little square on the side. If the square is empty, it is transparent. Now, not completely transparent, transparent or semi-transparent is what we're looking for. I'm also going, and this one is Prism Violet, by the way. And I'm also going to use this one, soft body acrylic fluorescent blue. Now this one is semi-transparent because it has the little square that's only half covered in. But what we want is some nice opaques covered by transparent paints, and that's how, if we're lucky, we get beautiful peacock cells. So I'm going to show you the pouring medium is exactly the same for the Liquitex, except the amount of Liquitex we use is around about 1 blueberry. Now everyone can argue what size is a blueberry, but I'm going to show you around about what size to put in. So let's again start with our Floetrol. We're going to make 10 milliliters of Floetrol with 10 milliliters of the Minwax. And because this is a soft body acrylic, I'm going to make the pouring medium all complete in one. So 10 ml of the Floetrol, 10 ml of the polyacrylic, and 20 milliliters of the clear base. Now, I don't alter the consistency of my pouring medium, I just alter the consistency of the amount of paint I put in them. So let's just get a little stir stick and we're going to stir this one up. So yeah, we want to look at it. This is 20 ml of pouring medium in a 4 ounce cup and it's about half full, so there's about 2 ounces there. So for 2 ounces of pouring medium you want to add at least 1 blueberry, only one. With this Liquitex soft body acrylic, it is really very strong pigment, so if you use too much it's just going to be opaque, so you want to really be using it sparingly. So 1 blueberry, as you can see, and we'll mix it in and you can see how quickly and how dark, there you go, it becomes. So as long as we have this nice light colour, nice light prism violet colour, this is going to be great. It's still going to hold its transparency. See it just sitting up on the rest of itself on the paint there for about a second or two before it just disperses back in the surface. And that's how we mix up the Liquitex. Now, I'm also going to use, I said I was going to use some dollar store paint here. We've got some Deco Art Fun Fuchsia. And a fun fact about this is, even though it's not said on the label, it is UV reactive, so it luminesces under a black light, which is pretty fantastic. Again, the same pouring medium. Right, so I'm right at the end of this little pot. I hope it's going to be enough. We will see. Okay, so we want to mix this up. Oh, perfect. There we go. Excellent. Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm mixing up at least 2 ounces of each paint because we're going to be doing quite a large canvas with this in the end. The canvas is almost 2 feet by 3 feet. Or if you are in Europe and you want centimeters, I believe it's 60 by 100, something like that. But anyway, there we go. So there's our Fun Fuchsia. So we have our 3 different pigments, 3 different colors. One is going to be a pigment, one is with the gold, which is a pigment, and then the Prism Violet, which is the Liquitex soft body acrylic, and then the Fun Fuchsia, which is the Crafter's acrylic from the dollar store. I'm going to mix up the other paints we need, which are going to be either side of the swipe. We're going to use Interference Red and Interference Blue. Now this is what created that beautiful kind of smoky, billowy effect either side of the swipe. Now these are totally transparent and you can use them in other colors to give them a color shifting quality, or you can just use them on their own as I did, and to spectacular results, which was just fantastic. So we mixed these up in exactly the same way we mixed up the Pearl X Solar Gold right here. So I'm going to go ahead and mix those up and get it going, and we're going to show you how to do this.